Salute Knicks Nation. The streets are buzzing as the Knicks pull a close one out at MSG 110-105 against Philadelphia as the New York Knicks get back to winning ways, and it wasn't smooth sails in this one. We're going to break it down tonight with the best chat in the biz as Jaylen Brunson, the captain, was needed to claw this one out. A couple of great plays late, executing, and the New York Knicks escape with a victory by 5 points. Let's talk about it as Jaylen Brunson closed the deal. Mikal Bridges erupted in this one, bounced back offensively, and it was a much needed win, obviously. And we're going to talk about the road ahead with Mitchell Robinson set to return, right? Talks about next game at Memphis. Let's get into it, guys. Welcome in to the post-game live. Shout out to the chat. Shout out Knicks family. Man, this one, the Knicks, were sloppy. Up 16 at one point, up 9 in the fourth quarter. But obviously, we're going to go through from the top. Ariel Hukporti got the start, and he gave us some solid minutes. But unfortunately, he sprained his knee early in the third quarter and was not able to return. Precious Achiuwa had to play heavy minutes and step in, and he made some key defensive plays, did Precious. Really solid with the blocks as well. And we needed Bridges' offensive game tonight and Brunson late execution. But yeah, guys, obviously the turnovers, 16 turnovers as a team. And I think that let Philadelphia hang around. The Knicks got to do a better job at taking control of possessions and playing under control. Too out of control at times, man. 16 turnovers against a bad defensive team, self-inflicted. And we're going to talk about Tom Tibbs, the coach, obviously. Talk around Nick's verse that he's not the guy to take this team forward. It's nights like tonight where you look at it and it's it looked a lot harder than it needed to be. Philadelphia, though, were hungry. To their credit, they stuck around, but 9-game losing streak right now for Philadelphia. They're on an 8-game losing streak heading into this one. So the Knicks did enough to hold them off, man. But the MSG crowd willed them to victory as well. And they stepped up defensively, the Knicks late, to get some key stops. But welcome in chat, Daniel Berry in the house, GK. Hope you guys are doing well. And look, Knicks Nation, I'll take a win. I never get down after a win. It's just, it's only way up from here, I feel, because Mitch getting back next game, Philly made their run when Hukporti went out, and I'm not just putting it all on Hukporti and the fact that, he was out of tonight's game from the third quarter onwards. But without his rim protection, it was open driving lanes, and it was, the ability to get whatever they wanted. As the Knicks executed late, this great out-of-bounds timeout call, one of the best plays I've seen, but again, obviously against a struggling Philadelphia, but well executed. OG Anunoby came around the curl, got open. Poor defense from Philly in that one, and that dunk helped seal the deal from OG, man, much needed. But, against a better team, we probably definitely get an L handed to us tonight. JB was in his bag of tricks early, man, with that in and out dribble to put the Knicks, get some Knicks more separation in that one. But obviously the big story is Mitch set to return next game. Highly likely Memphis, going to be up against Jaren Jackson and of course Zach Edey, man. But tonight we saw a good glimpse with Ariel Hukporti get the start, right? His first start for his career. Congrats to the young rook. Unfortunately, the way it had to end, but the story is, guys, sprained left knee from Ariel Hukporti. Yeah, didn't look too serious. Was able to come back in the game and just couldn't see the game out. Looked a little hobbled, discomfort. He probably went back to the locker room, had some treatment, tried to give it a go, but was unable to finish the ball game. But we'll break it down Hukporti's game overall. I thought he set really good screens, like we've been seeing. Needs to do better rebounding, but got 2 blocks, was deterring shots as well. As the Cap gets the game ball tonight, we'll give out the first grade in a minute. But let's pull up the box score, guys. How did you guys see it? We've got Knicks 25 and 26 champs. What's good? Al Tango 45. Great to see you, Michael Drake. Al Tango says Huck P showing his worth. Yeah, all you could ask for in your first start is just be solid. And Hukporti, offensively, I think, gave us some more things to be excited about. The little hook, he's got a nice touch around the basket. Gave us 8 points. Was a +1, a winning player tonight. I'll describe Hukporti as a winning player. The Knicks were in control when he was out there for the 16 minutes. Precious filled in well as well, but 4 or 5 from Huck. 2 offensive rebounds. Needs to do better on the glass, but he does box out really, really well. And I do think that doesn't count, unfortunately, on the box score, but it does allow his teammates to get the rebounds. So Hukporti does look for the man. He boxes out well, but he does need to pull in some more boards, fam. Couple of turnovers, 3 fouls, but first start, solid 16 minutes. And so we definitely got one, man. We've got a piece for the future to be in the rotation. The only rookie to be in the rotation right now is quite telling. But we're going to talk about Pacome Dardier because he played well last night in the G. But the first grader tonight, guys, captain, and Bridges gets an honourable mention. He had the game ball for me heading into the fourth quarter, but the game got really close, and JB was needed to close it out. But Hukporti's first basket came off a JB assist. JB was diming tonight and found Hukporti for the first bucket of the night in his first start. So that was a feel-good moment from tonight's ball game. We take a look at JB's overall numbers. As the Knicks go 38 and 20 on the season, guys, we'll break down the NBA later. But Detroit picked up a massive win over Boston. Absolutely punked Boston tonight, man. So what do you guys think, man? Do you want to see Detroit in the playoffs? I don't. I'm going to say that right now, man. I'm going to be honest. But I think we can handle them. Don't get me wrong. I think we can handle them. But, man, that reeks of last season's first round tough series matchup, like against Philly. Man, I want to get out of the first round unscathed, man. But shout out to Detroit for getting a big time win against Boston, something that we haven't been able to do, and they're a good matchup. JB tonight closed the deal, finished with 34 points, 7 assists, 3 rebounds. 15 of 16 from the free throw as well. Thankfully, he was money. 8 of 17 as well, and a +3 tonight. So the captain led the way, and he'll definitely get his dues, his flowers right now coming up. The grade for Jaylen Brunson tonight. He gets the A, fam. And shout out to him for the first dime, getting Hukporti out there. Comfortable with the first alley-oop. But JB was hesitating a little bit, little sloppy as well. The reason I don't give him an A+, team high 16 turnovers. We do have to be more steady with the basketball, fam. Self-inflicted, because not a lot of people look at that. They'll look at the score and they'll say, oh man, the Knicks, what are they doing, man? 5-point game, it should have been over. But a lot of that thing has got nothing to do with Philly, really. It's just ourselves. Coaching, lack of call playing, and not taking care of the basketball. OG was still a little rusty, fumbling. Hart was fumbling a little early as well. And if you take, 5 of those turnovers and turn them into buckets, it's a 15-point game. And nobody's saying anything about the game being close, And so turnovers are the killer. Turnovers are the killer, fam. But prayers up for Hukporti. Hopefully he's not going to be out for too long, guys, with the sprained knee. Reported the Knicks PR account, and Ian Begley confirmed Ariel Hukporti's sprained knee was out for the remainder of the game. But I'm going to take a positive sign that he was able to come back into the ball game, and give it a go. He looked a little hobbled, and they sat him out. And so I don't know if he'll be ready for the next game. Probably going to miss a little bit of time, but maybe in the nick of time that we have Mitch coming back against Memphis. Next up on the road, Jaren Jackson, tough matchup, Zach Edey. But the word is that Mitch is going to be on a strict minutes restriction. And so, yeah, he's just got to get out there, shake off the rust, man. It's been a minute since we've seen Mitchell Robinson in action wearing a New York Knicks jersey, man. And we saw great signs tonight with Ariel Hukporti protecting the hoop, and I think that's our biggest downfall, you know. Um, widely criticized Mikal Bridges, Tom Thibodeau, all of the Knicks issues coming in, guys, after the last two bad losses. I think at the very top has been a lack of rim presence, and anchoring the paint. Too much drop coverage, absolutely. That's on schemes and Tibbs, as we've covered. But you see a guy like Hukporti tonight who could navigate and ice the screens, hedge, and also drop back. So I thought Hukporti led the way early, showcasing best drop coverage that we've seen out of any other center this season. Obviously Mitch is the best at it, and we're going to get a great look at Mitch returning up, man, against Memphis. Salute to Susan. Unguardable. Brunson did the fourth quarter shutdown time. Yep, Tendrell. Hukporti, yeah, it's tough situation for your first start. But I do think, it doesn't look too serious. Sprained knee, nothing with a muscle or ligament. Fortunately, so we caught a little break. I think he just did bang some knees. GK said JB had 7 assists in less than a half, then nothing. Yeah, that's why I stopped short of an A+ type game. Too sloppy, definitely, as a team, and organizing the offense. But to your point, get this, guys. As a team, we were 15 assists at halftime, and we finished with 22. So, yeah, second half got too stagnant. You could say Philly's defense stepped up, but I do think we're picking the ball out of the net too much. We were letting Philly score, and that affected our offense as well. Slow pace, half court. When we get stops, we get transition buckets and we get assists. So our defense has to step up, has to fuel the offense. But, I'm going to give them a pass tonight because, Hukporti, if he had finished the game out, I think it would have been more solid. But yeah, Precious got 4 blocks tonight, a couple of key blocks, which helped, but 7 points. He's not as intimidating as a rim protector as a guy like a Hukporti. Like a lot of times tonight, Hukporti was there recovering and deterring a drive, and then the guy would have to bring the basketball back out. And so a lot of the things a box score does not show, if you watch the game, I think Hukporti did his job as a defensive-minded center that we just haven't had enough of. Enough of this Karl Anthony Towns at the 5 business, right? It's not going to fly against quality teams. You see tonight, no Cat, but Hukporti goes out and it's a layup line. They have all kinds of success getting to the rim. Tyrese Maxey, Paul George as well. And then they get the kickouts, and then they started, getting the 3 balls flowing as well, guys. So yeah, like KC says, we barely beat a Sixers team. But yeah, defense and taking care of the ball was our Achilles tonight. Welcome in chat. Smash that like button. The Knicks are back on the win column, but we did it ugly tonight. We got some stops, and it's on the road to Memphis, fam. And, that's going to be baptism by fire. Is it going to be Mitchell Robinson's season debut? All things are trending that way, ladies and gentlemen, on a minutes restriction. Let's hope Hukporti's okay. If he could play next game, that would be gravy. But obviously, Cat out tonight. He was day-to-day as well. So I think Karl Anthony Towns might be good next game as well. Lily Phillips, hope all's well. Great to see you. Tons of concerns. Still glad for the win, though. Yeah, you summed it up. Relief, a little bit of frustration. You take it. Bad team, but Philly were on an 8-game losing streak, and so you have to look at all things, guys, in context. Bad team, but when a team's lost 8 on the bounce, they do, want to come out and get back on the win column, and I think the Knicks held them off. We got a little sloppy. It wasn't Hart's best game. And we're going to cover OG Anunoby, third game back, guys, because OG, yeah, he doesn't look himself yet, you know. Finished the play, had this nice dunk off a great call from Tibbs, well executed. But yeah, OG, if OG gets back to his early season best, that gives the Knicks the best chance, I feel, of getting out of a second round. A lot of guys are focusing on Cat, Tibbs, the center, and all of that, and Bridges, and that's definitely big question marks. But I don't think we go anywhere if we don't get OG Anunoby back to his best, right? If he's like, 10-point OG Anunoby, couple of rebounds, not moving well, we're toast. OG Anunoby's our best defender, and he needs to play that way. Tonight he was +4, 16 points, but he's bricking at the moment, 1 of 6, 5 of 15. Gave us 9 rebounds though, really good. 3 assists, 2 steals. The 16 points is better. Third game back, so yeah, I'm hoping that OG is just shaking off the rust. Let me know if you guys have any concerns over OG. He definitely doesn't look like himself, and we need more from him. But I'll take the points. It wasn't efficient, but I like the 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. So let's dial up the grade for OG Anunoby right now. We've got ways to go to be a contender, GK. Yeah, this doesn't look like it's going to be the season. I'm not mailing in yet, but we've definitely got to drastically get better and tweak some things as currently constructed. Yeah, you guys are buzzing. Knicks family, big up. Susan says Hukporti did hold the Knicks down tonight. Yeah, it's a shame he couldn't finish the game out. It would have been a great story for his first start. But the boys got it done for him. And so Hukporti with the first bucket of the night with the alley-oop as well. Let us know what you guys see. For a rookie, man, there's signs that he's going to be a New York Knick for a very, very, very long time, guys. Caught in the second round. I think the Knicks will probably do what they did to Deuce. They'll decline Hukporti's second-year contract and they'll re-up him for a multi-year deal on the cheap. That's what I would do if I was Leon Rose as well. Just before we hit on some more comments and the grade for OG as well, I got to say MSG did a great tribute for the late Al Troutwig. Unfortunately, the passing we came to learn earlier in the week, and thoughts and prayers, condolences are with the MSG and Al Troutwig's family as well. Obviously, a big part of my experience watching the New York Knicks growing up as a kid on MSG, many of us as well, and so that was sad news. But great tribute today earlier from MSG on that one as well. In the Hukporti first start. Now let's hit on a super chat, give out the rest of the grades as we're all buzzing tonight. We've got Sheffy Jr. in the house. Great to see you, and I really appreciate the work you do, brother, says Sheffy Jr. And I appreciate you, fam. Thanks for coming through and showing out tonight. Let us know what did you like the most tonight, and what did you dislike the most? G Money's in the house. Chris Gotti says Captain Clutch in full effect. And G Money says great call for Tibbs. Yeah, practice, couple of days practice. So I think we caught a break. The guys are working on some plays. Hopefully we get to see more of that in the postseason. Danny says, salute my friend. Do you think we need another player to put this team over the top, or a coaching change? I think a coaching change is probably at the top for me, but we definitely need more talent. Two things can be true, Danny, but I do think a different coach could get the best out of this team more. But let's see how the journey finishes this season. But obviously, you can never have enough talent, and I do think we could upgrade our talent as well, fam. Look, if everyone, when we know we're a very talented squad, but everybody has to play their best. Everybody has to bring their A game. Otherwise, we're not good enough in terms of winning a championship right now against Boston, against Cleveland. Every year has a mind of its own. Every year there's, teams improving, trade deadline, all of those things as well, fam. And so, yeah, I think it's a case of you never stop improving, and Leon Rose has to continue doing work. So I'm going to give OG a B for tonight. It's an above average grade. For me personally, I like the steals, the rebounds, but inefficient and just not moving as well. We know he's a little sloppy with the basketball as well, but I thought he held us down tonight in the moments that we needed and came up with some clutch stops as well. So we'll hit on the next guy in a minute, and it's got to be Ariel Hukporti, the first start in his career. Guys, give us your takes on the big Huck tonight. As reported, out with a left knee strain. Unfortunate way to finish what would have been a good night, sharing the win with his family and brothers. 4 or 5 from the field. I think this might be his highest scoring game. 8 points. Was a +1. Couple of nice tip-ins, offensive rebounds. But I think the thing that I liked the most was his coverage, his energy, his ability to, recover and, ice the screens, good drop coverage, the offensive screens that he sets, the legal ones, was a case of, it was effective. It freed up Brunson to get downhill a couple of times, and Brunson also found him cutting to the basket as well. I think he's got good awareness, pretty good foot speed. I think we hit, that has to be the takeaway. 58th pick. Ariel Hukporti is going to be a New York Knick for a long time, I feel. He's got all the fundamentals, that you need out of a big. I think he's got a nice little jump shot that he can continue to work on, but he's not ready to pull that out just yet. He just has to, take care of what he can execute with. And he's got a nice little touch around the basket, a nice little Hart floater game. So first start, didn't finish well with the injury, but Ariel Hukporti helped the team get up in this one, guys, get ahead. And in his role, let's pull out the grade for the big Huck in his first start. He'll get a B as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to give Huck a B. How did you guys see it? Eddie A in the chat says Hukporti C+. I like it. iStream Team Radio Salute says Huck a B. And Elliot says rest in peace to Al Troutwig, as that you guys are showing the love out here. Tendrell says rest in peace Al Troutwig as well. Appreciate you guys. Johnny Cheeber in the house. Miguel Salute. OG a B for iStream. Yep. Comment from Eddie A says, not blaming Bridges for not scoring much in the second half. Brunson went ISO most of the second half. Yeah, the assist did dry up, and that's our Achilles. We do need to be more focused and execute better. But I do think defense just does fuel everything, When we're running and gunning, we're getting assists and we're scoring easy. That's New York Knicks basketball. We have to get back to that. And I think we will when Mitch is back. Let's not forget we miss Cat's passing. We're focused a lot on Cat's deficiencies as we should, but we also need to highlight what Cat brings to this ball club in terms of offense, getting the ball moving at the right time, attacking the mismatch as well. He's vital. You see tonight, they did D up a bit, put some length on JB, and it was tough to really get floor spacing with a lot of these guys bricking them. So a lot of the time, Brunson has to make the best of what the situation is with poor floor spacing. When OG's 5 of 15, Hart didn't attempt a single three tonight. Bridges was 3 of 5, and I guess that's the downfall in terms of not getting Bridges going in the second half. Shamit, 0 of 2 again, 5 minutes. Tibbs had a quick hook with Landry tonight. And so, is the door going to open up for a Pacome Dardier or TJ Warren? I'll tell you what, we'll touch on that in a minute. I did watch last night's Westchester game, and the highlights for me were Chuma Akeke, 30 points, really solid frame, defensively stout. He's a guy that I think could help this team as well. So the Knicks have got a decision to make as the clock will tick to February 28, fam, in less than 48 hours. The New York Knicks can add the 15th man to this roster, and I think they're going to. Maybe we're going to see the first game with Mitch, and then we're going to make a decision. G case is Okeke or TJ. Before last night's game, I'm going to tell you, it was TJ all the way. But after watching last night's Westchester game, it's more of a decision, because does this team need an older head that can chuck up threes and score, or do we need more defense? Do we need a guy, a wing who can play better D? And that's what Okeke does. TJ is more of a bucket getter. What do you guys think? Did you catch Westchester last night? Also, shout out to Jake Toppin. Not going to forget about you, brother. Jake Toppin gave us 30 points as well. We already know he's on a two-way contract, and for whatever reason, Tibbs isn't giving him a chance. He's got good length and good size. As you know, a lot of talk about Tibbs. Has he confirmed that Mitch is going to start? And then that was downplayed earlier today, pre-game. So they Tibbs let a little bit out of the bag, and then they've kind of backtracked a little bit. But let's face it, Mitch is going to get heavy minutes when he's able to play big minutes, right? Especially in these big time matchups, Cleveland, Boston, probably Detroit as well. You got Beef Stew, Jaylen Brunson. If we faced a healthy Orlando, we're probably going to need Mitch as well in that one. If you guys eyeing the summer as well, it looks like Kevin Durant is going to get traded as well. So it's going to be a crazy offseason, guys, with some big names expected to change teams once again. As we're still recovering from a crazy trade deadline right now. But yeah, the New York Knicks can add one more guy. I like our roster from the point of view of, I like our top 7-8 guys. I do think we need a little bit more size. Mitch comes back in. That's beautiful. We need one more wing, in my opinion. We need one more wing. Joseph says we will get TJ Warren and he'll never get playing time. That's plausible. It'd be frustrating. I do think it's either Dardier or a guy like a TJ. One of these guys has to get time. Put Deuce's minutes up. If Mikal's struggling defensively, you make a switch in game, like Tibbs did in the third quarter, but unfortunately it wasn't enough against Boston, I'm saying. But we are undersized against those bigger teams, so I would take out Landry Shamet, in my opinion. What do you guys think about that? Mitchell Robinson coming in. I think Josh Hart is the tip to go back to the bench. Floor spacing is still key. You're throwing in Mitch in there who can't space the floor out. Can you sustain Mitch and Hart together against an elite team? I think that's going to be tough. And so, yeah, I would put Josh Hart to the bench. Mitch comes back in, and then your bench is a lot stronger, with more energy. You could play at great pace with Campaign, Deuce, and Hart, and then you could throw a Dardier or a TJ together with Huck. Precious Huck. It'd be interesting, man. Really interesting. Does he stagger the lineups and keep Cat out there as well? You sub Brunson out and you keep Cat on the floor together with Huck, Hart, Deuce McBride, and Payne. So the Knicks have got some lineups. It just Tibbs hasn't utilized the roster to its full capacity, and we're kind of seeing that a little bit with Hukporti. He should have been playing from the very, very beginning of the season, and I think we would be seeing a more ready-made kind of guy right now. But as we continue shouting you guys out, smash that like button. You've got the Knicks streets buzzing. Let's give out a grade for Mikal Bridges because, he deserves criticism when he's struggling, and he hasn't delivered so far. But tonight he helped the Knicks get the dub, especially offensively against, a subpar team. So, with that in context, Bridges put up 28 points, man. He was on fire. Early 16 points in the first quarter, and Bridges was in a groove, man. But we went away from him. So we have to continue to feed his hot hand when he's got going, man. The thing is about Bridges, man, when he's on, he's on. We've seen it for Christmas Day. He's slithery. He's slim. He can get to his spots, and he's quick. He's got a high release, quick trigger. He had a couple of moments in that third against Boston, and then he started scoring late. But, I mean, what I said about playing my strengths, he is the third best offensive player on this team, whether you like it or not. And you can't go away from that. You can't go away from him. You have to get him some easier shots. And I think that's where Tibbs has kind of struggled and failed at this point. Elliot agrees. Yeah, but the Knicks need to feature Bridges in the offense more consistently. Yeah, absolutely. Spot on, 100%. For better, for worse, defensively, he needs to be out there still because of his length. But offensively, he's the third most talented player, offensively. And we have to get him going, If you're looking at the reasons why the Knicks overpaid, it's because, he's a two-way player and he's supposed to take this team help the team go to the next level. And he hasn't been doing that. But also, part of that is on the coach, on the coaching as well. But yeah, defensively, he hasn't shown enough fight and he struggled at times. But tonight, he definitely had one of his best games of the season. 12 of 18, 3 of 5 from downtown, 3 assists, 2 steals, +1, 28 buckets with 2 rebounds. So an improvement, 2 rebounds over last game, 0. Right. So he heard the noise, but 2 rebounds still isn't enough. But it's an improvement. And so Mikal Bridges, man, he deserves his flowers for tonight. So he'll get an A- for Mikal, and the game ball goes to captain. Detroit, yeah, big win. Detroit were monsters on the boards tonight, says GK. Yeah, they're a young team, man. They're gaining in confidence, and if we've seen this before in the past, when young teams get confidence and they start to believe that they can win, that's dangerous. And so I'm hoping Detroit can face someone other than us in the first round, man. And I'll be sitting there with popcorn, ready to watch, because I think Detroit can be a giant killer. We'll take a quick look at the standings in a minute, give out these grades. But yeah, man, if Detroit can get someone like Boston or Cleveland, I mean, who wouldn't want to watch that series, right? I think they've overtaken the Orlando as the young, team to watch now, in my opinion. It's unfortunate we traded the Detroit pick. Man, that pick would have conveyed. Um, Eddie gives Bridges the B+. Duras in the building says Tibbs calling his defense. Without that, he is worthless. Yeah, he can't work miracles, but he can make decisions that, and not be too stubborn in terms of he can't make Cat a good defensive player. That's just impossible. But he can, take Cat out of the lineup and push him to the 4, So he's kind of to blame, but he's not, you know what I'm trying to say. He can make changes, but he's just not doing that enough. He had Hukporti sitting there on the bench all season, fam. And I really think Huck should have been given an opportunity. Well, he was given an opportunity, which was frustrating, but Tibbs just pulled him in favor of Jericho. So, yeah, a bit of lack of communication with the front office and Tibbs in that one. As Sims was always on an expiring contract. The writing was on the wall, beginning of the season. I said that Jericho would get traded, and he got traded. The moment they drafted Hukporti, they had a cheaper version on a younger, cheaper version that they could retain. The writing was on the wall for Sims, but Tibbs gave Sims that chance, and he got traded. But yeah, next up, Jay Hart. Good bounce back from Bridges, but yeah, we need to see it against better teams overall. So next up for Josh Hart, 3 of 5 from the field, just 7 points, but stuffed the stat sheet with 4 assists, 17 rebounds, 1 steal and a block, and a +11 team high. Josh Hart, man, the most Josh Hart stat line you're gonna see, right? Helter skelter, low volume, beast on the glass, beast in the plus minus. Minnow in the points, but block solid, steal solid, 4 dimes, great. He's just a Swiss Army knife. That's what Josh Hart is. He's a do-it-all, Mr. Fix-It. He'll have boneheaded plays, 7 turnovers as well. How could I forget that? So he had more turnovers than assists tonight. Just insane. How do you grade that? Right. He's irreplaceable, but he can frustrate you at times as well. Hart. But he gets a pass actually because he's dealing with the knee soreness as well, right? Obviously, we know Hart's missed some time as well. So is Hart going to go back to the bench? That would be my tip with this demon coming into the lineup soon. So tonight for Josh Hart, man, all over the place. So I'm going to go a B+ for Jay Hart tonight. KNICKS 25 and 26 champ says OG will be okay. I hope so. We have a lot riding on OG. Salute Cardiac. Oubre tonight. Yeah, he was a classic Oubre. Hot and cold. He killing us with the 3 ball, but then turning it over as well. Joseph says the Knicks fan base is overrated, Deuce. I think he's hit his ceiling, and this is the player he will be. I think overrated, possibly. Obviously, we hold Deuce in really, really high regard, so I understand. But yeah, his size will always be his limitation in terms of if Deuce was 6'5", there's no way in hell he would have ever signed that. There's no way in hell he would be underpaid. I think if Deuce was 6'5", 6'6", right, he'd be up there with the names of Amen Thompson or Sar Thompson. I think his work's he's put in the work. His size is the limiting factor, I think, and his offensive creation. He could be just basically being a better version of Mikal Bridges. Lewis says solid win, we'll take it. Yeah, so much is in flux, which is why I'm not going to really read too much into tonight. Mitch is on the cusp of returning. No Karl Anthony Towns tonight. Hukporti's first start and then didn't finish the game. Yeah, we just needed to get out of tonight alive, get the dub. We didn't want to be the one to allow Philly to break their 8-game losing streak. Obviously, we have to say they didn't have Joel Embiid, but we know what's been the story for this season, right? And so before we move to the bench, let's give Tibbs the grade for tonight, man. I called this out, but why didn't he challenge that call late? We had a challenge up our sleeve. It looked like Kelly Oubre flopped on Josh Hart, so Tibbs didn't challenge that one. Also, he started Hukporti, so that's a big tick for me. He went away with the small ball, gave him a chance, his first start. But obviously 16 turnovers, play calling helped us get that dub late with that execution. But as a team, we went into a stupor and a funk. And obviously, defensively, he's been stubborn with adjusting with Cat to the 4. So overall tonight, Tibbs will get his grade coming up. Let me dial this up right now. We get the win, but Tibbs will get a C+ for me. Some good, some bad. Not much ugly, but obviously it's against a really, really, really bad team. So let's keep moving along. Now, JB gets the game ball. And let's touch on the bench now with Deuce McBride, Campaign, and Precious Achua stepping up, and Landry Shamet with just 5 minutes tonight. We see this demon now healthy. Pacome Dardier, solid game last night, a good play finisher. What I saw last night, Dardier is still a little streaky with the 3, but we already know that's the same deal with Landry. But with Dardier, he's got more size. I think he's more stout defensively, longer wingspan, and would do better against those tough matchups defensively. But he's got a long way to go offensively. Pacome, I've seen a lot of his Westchester games. His handle has to get tighter. And obviously the next swing skill, I think, for Dardier is to be able to create more efficiently off the bounce. He's shown potential with a catch and shoot, and he's got a nice, pretty jump shot mechanic. But putting the ball on the floor, I think, is going to be the skill that transcends him from being, a kind of end of a rotation player to being a bona fide starter for us next season or in future seasons. So I'm encouraged. He's a good play finisher, reads the game well, cuts well. Does he deserve minutes over Landry Shamet right now? Yeah, you could definitely make that argument. But Landry's the veteran right now, and so we're 25 games from the playoffs. I don't know if Tibbs is going to make that change up, but he has before. Let's see. He did cut Alec Burks out of the rotation late last season, but he did also hold on for Elfrid Payton too long as well in the past. So let's see what happens. But look, looks like Hukporti is going to be in the rotation potentially, even if Mitch gets back, coming off the bench as his backup. Because we're going to need 2 bigs, or at least 3 bigs every game. If you're starting Cat and you're starting Mitch, you're going to need a Hukporti or a Precious, or both, coming off the bench. So first up, off the bench, let's touch on Precious Achua, because 30 minutes, he was 3 of 6, gave us 6 rebounds, 2 assists, 4 blocks, a couple of turnovers, 7 points, and a +3. So solid. I think just the solid performance from Precious. Hopefully, the turnovers can be few and far between. But when you're asking Precious to create, and finish plays, it is a little dicey. He is a lower usage kind of player. But tonight, 3 of 6, he stepped up when we needed him, when Huck went down. And obviously it was the right call from Tibbs, I think, to start a proper center. And we'll see how that plays out now next game with Mitch getting back. But tonight, I'll give Precious yeah, he made some big plays and he stepped up with the blocks. So I'm going to give Precious a B+. We've got to be healthy, Lewis. Yeah, heading into the playoffs. That's so key. You know, we're so short on reliable players in the end of the rotation in terms of, you know, we can't afford to lose anyone. You know, that's where we sit. So I really hope that we can add someone to this roster that can help. Whether Tibbs is going to play them is a huge question. As Big Dave says, I keep hearing of talk of Mitch returning. I'm beginning to wonder if he will ever return again. So the biggest thing that's holding it up is how he feels, I guess, after a practice, how he's reacting to the contact. It's been a long journey, but I think we're very, very, very close. I do think it's going to be either next game or the one after that, fam. So it's going to be Memphis, or it's going to be the game after that, I feel. So Precious gets the B+. Yeah, whether we could pin all our hopes on Mitch or not, you know, isn't really. It's a tough situation to be in, no doubt about it. But it's not just this season that I'm looking at it and why, you know, Mitch is important. It's the pathway forward that Karl Anthony Towns is no longer going to be a starting center for this team. You know, whether it's Mitch or not, I think we've found the right decision now that Cat is not the 5. And so if Mitch doesn't end up being the one to help us get over the top this season, then the Knicks will best believe that they'll be on the lookout for, you know, the guy that can be the 5 next to Karl Anthony Towns. And we saw some signs tonight with a guy that we drafted with the 58th pick that at the very least he can start. You know, he can give you healthy minutes. He can play against Andre Drummond, you know, who's a 10-year veteran in this league. Precious is not that starting 5 either, right? We traded Sims, so it's Hukporti that needs to be the guy backing up Mitch, 100%. Lewis says Dardier just needs to play hard D at this point. Yeah, you know, you can't skip steps. He's a young fella, and I think you know, he's shown a lot of promise in his first season. He's got a lot more Westchester games to play. I think we definitely got a nice piece with Dardier. Like I said, it just depends whether he can be an end of the rotation player. If his offense can get better, he'll become a starter one day, I feel. Buzzer beater in the building. Salute. What are your thoughts on this? Close win as the Knicks had to claw their way back and pull it out. Eddie says, I wouldn't count on it. Tibbs will put Hukporti, the Sims bench seat after Mitch gets back. Tibbs will play Mitch 35 to 40 each game. I don't think you can, man. The medical, all the talk is that, you know, Mitch will be on a minutes restriction. And so it looks like, you know, don't look now, but it really looks like Hukporti has some Tibbs trust. I don't think he starts Hukporti tonight. If he doesn't think, you know, whether he's forced or not, that could be something. We know Dolan is a huge fan of Hukporti, you know, blessed him up in the locker room a few weeks back. And Tibbs has been playing him ever since. So, you know, Tibbs might be feeling some of the pressure now with his job, his seat getting warm. But Hukporti's that guy that he's got a few years of pro ball under his belt. He's 22 as well. He's a physical specimen. All of those things do count in his favor when trying to get more minutes. You know, we do know what Tibbs likes, and he does like that burly center, like a Mitch, Hart, and a guy. But yeah, he's just got to get better every day, show it in practice, and he's got to stay cool. One thing I'm a little worried about Hukporti is sometimes he just loses his cool a little bit out there. He just needs to take deep breaths, get the coaches need to get in his ear and just say, just chill, just calm down. You don't have to block every shot. I know your heart rate is going 100 miles an hour. You just have to, chill, just chill. But he's playing at 100 miles an hour, man. He's so exciting to watch. A lot of people said this, but when you watch Hukporti out there, you see a young kid just trying to do everything. It's positive, but he just needs to slow it down a bit, right? And it's night and day. When you see Precious go out there and Hukporti's buzzing at like 2 times the speed. Precious is the veteran. He's playing a little bit more under control, but with less energy, I feel. Maybe he's reserving some of that energy. You guys talking about some coaching options. Let's dive into Deuce's grade right now. Deuce McBride. Hitting some of those mid-range shots. Tonight he was 3 of 4 from the field. Missed his open 3. 6 points. Got 4 fouls tonight, -3. 2 rebounds and 1 assist. So a quiet night from Deuce on the stat sheet, -3. I think they made a late run, but Deuce struggled with some size matchups. But look, so valuable to us with the open shots, creating as well. I want to see more lineups with Miles playing next to Brunson because I feel like he'll help him take the ball up the court sometimes. He'll create some shots, he'll hit shots, and he'll defend, of course, like he does in the playoffs, fam. So he's definitely one of the most counted on players that Tibbs trusts, the top 6 guys. Tonight was a little down, so I'm going to give Deuce the C+. But we know Deuce's impact on this ball club when we need to win ball games. Next up is Cameron Payne. Cam played 11 minutes tonight. Was good energy. 2 of 5, 4 points, and a +4 as well. So yeah, when we're winning the campaign minutes, that's a good step in the right direction to winning the ball game. Again, he's another guy that he can be lightning in a bottle. Coming off the bench, good minutes, change of pace, getting the scoreboard up. Again, I'd like to see Payne play lineups with Josh Hart. I think when Mitch comes back, we're going to see a lot more Hart with the bench, or potentially, a wing, Dardier, TJ Warren. It's going to be Hukporti or Precious Achua as well. I don't think Bridges is going to play that much with the bench. I do think he's going to play the bulk of his minutes starting as well, for a lot of reasons, but optics. Obviously, you traded 5 first-round picks. Hart's the most likely guy that's going to sacrifice. So yeah, Payne didn't attempt a 3-ball tonight, so that is a little discouraging. And as if we look at the team, we only attempted 19 threes tonight. So there you go, guys. The stat, when we hit less than 30 threes, we're a 500 ball club. And so 19 attempts tonight. And I only made 7 of them. So yeah, slim pickings from the 3-point line tonight. Definitely against a good team, you're going to struggle to beat elite teams if you're not hitting the 3. The biggest concern for me, OG Anunoby, right? We bought him in and paid that man to be a corner spacer. 1 of 6 is not going to get it done. And the rest of the guys, Deuce didn't hit a 3. Shamet couldn't hit a 3 in 2 shots. Payne didn't attempt a 3. And Hart didn't even attempt a 3. Luckily, Bridges was 3 of 5. So it's a 3-point game right now, guys, and we're lacking. We're one of the worst teams in the league at defending the 3 and attempting the 3. And that's on our coach, guys. I don't know if we're going to be able to beat a Detroit if we're not hitting 3s. That's just how the game goes right now. They got size. They're going to clog the paint, and they're going to collapse on the drives. If it's Jaylen Brunson hitting tough, mid-range shots against Detroit, it's going to be a tough series, right? We have to stretch these guys out, and that's where we really, really, really miss Karl-Anthony Towns tonight, guys. 19 3 attempts. Like Buzzer says, we really need to defend the three. Tonight that was the way that Philly got back into the ball game, 100%. You like Nick Nurse? That's interesting. There's some conflicting reports out there. He's failed in, obviously, the Raptors, not doing so well in Philly, but that's more on the roster. Buzzer says, CT, who do you trust at the point guard position if Brunson is injured? For now, it's going to have to be Payne and Deuce together, sharing the duties. Honestly, I really wanted to give Tyler Kolek an opportunity. I've watched some G League games. He's had his moments. I just don't think he's ready. I don't think Tyler Kolek is ready right now. I guess you've just got to go with the steady veteran in Cameron Payne. And if he's struggling out there, then you turn it over to Deuce. But yeah, we have DeLon Wright. Tibbs hasn't really given him a look in just yet. But let's hope JB never gets injured. Deras says Kolek, GK Kolek, but not ready yet. Yeah, agree. And I really, really want to give him a chance, but yeah, he's just not ready for the big time just yet. Or he needs more reps, He's not dominating Westchester right now enough. I don't know if we'd go with a Nick Nurse, to be honest. I think if he fails in his second job, I think we'll be looking in another direction, fam. But the last grade, I'll give a grade also for Landry Shamet. Why not? Landry's been pretty poor, man. Played solid defense at times, so I'm not going to go too crazy. Won't give him a D. I'll give Landry Shamet a C. And for Cameron Payne, solid performance, but couldn't get any three balls going. Cam Payne gets the B for tonight. So that's the grade. Our biggest Achilles is depth. Our bench right now, we've got to play major minutes to these guys. Mitchell Robinson coming back will at least help, I think. Putting the defense aside, Mitchell Robinson will help eat, whether it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 25 or 35 minutes eventually. The fact that Mitchell Robinson is that guy coming into the rotation now, it's at least going to alleviate some of the minutes from somebody else, right? It's going to have a flow down effect. And who is that guy going to be? I think Josh Hart off the bench, man. I think that's going to be really, really solid. Because if Brunson or Cat's on the pine, and Hart's out there with Cam Payne and Deuce, I think that's excellent. Rebounding, it's going to get us going as well with the assists as well. This is my favorite assist of the night, man. Have you guys noticed Jaylen Brunson is pretty much the only guy that passes to Hukporti? I noticed that from the beginning. Cam Payne does look for him sometimes as well, and Kolek. But everyone else, man, Hukporti, you got to honor the role, man. I kept saying this. Part of the lack of floor spacing with non-shooting bigs is because the ball handler never honors the role man, right? It allows the defender to be a help defender, and you have to make that man pay by lobbing it to the role man. But unfortunately, I guess when you're looking at Jericho and you're looking at Precious Achua, those guys can have butterfingers sometimes. So it's great to have a big man that can finish plays. Mitchell Robinson been elite, and Hartenstein been elite for us at finishing plays. And we look like we've got another young guy with Hukporti now that can actually finish at the basket, 4 or 5 tonight. So the Huck gets, the grade, the B tonight in his first start. But I think that's big time. Right. Not every player on the court can shoot threes, right? Even Boston plays some players out there that aren't, don't shoot threes. Oklahoma. Hart doesn't shoot threes. How do Oklahoma figure that out? You have to pass it to the big man. You have to feed the big man. And sometimes, and that's been on Brunson as well. He puts his head down, you know, tunnel vision at times. But I like that. I like that. With the finish in that one. But it's got to be the same when this guy returns, man. Like GK says, nice lob threat finally. Elliot says 1,000% CT. Now let's chop up the road ahead and look at the NBA today. Buzzer says, CT, can we afford CP3 and TJ? Unfortunately, no, fam. It's one more player. We have one more ace up our sleeve. After that, that's it. So, yeah, man. It's going to have to be, we can afford one more minimum salaried player on a veteran min. And we can't afford to cut anybody, for those curious. If we were to cut, let's say, a DeLon Wright, a lot of people say, why don't we just cut DeLon Wright? Well, we have to pay his salary, unfortunately. And then we have to pay another salary for the player replacing him. And that all counts against the salary cap. And the Knicks are only $500,000 from exceeding the second apron. And so, it is what it is, We can only afford one more guy. So with that said, let's bring up the action from today. And this was the headline for me. Detroit putting a beat down on Boston, right? And I do think Boston they coast at times, They love getting up against us and they love, coming to play against the Knicks team just so they can look pretty, make a statement for ESPN, and then they just go back to coasting again. So I kind of trolled some Celtics fans just to say that we are in their heads, Best believe I do think the New York Knicks are in Boston's heads, because if you saw opening night and you saw the last game, they definitely play a lot harder against us. They try to make that statement. And it's even more, I guess, infuriating if you're a Knicks fan, because we didn't answer their level of want and intensity and fight. But then when they play a Detroit Pistons, they're like, yeah, whatever, But today, man, they caught a bullet in this one. Got smashed in the fourth quarter. We had Cade put up 21 and 11. We had Nick Killer, Malik Beasley with 26 and 5. Porzingis, Tatum, Holiday played. No Jaylen Brown in this one. Right, Torrey Craig played center for them the other night. Tonight he was DNP. So that's that game. Indiana picked up the win against the Raptors, so that they won't gain any ground because we're still winning. The Heat smashed the Hawks. The Thunder got their dub against the Nets. The Blazers have been playing well recently. The Clippers beat the Bulls as well. So not a lot of big matchups tonight. The Rockets, we already know the Spurs are tanking. So if we look at the table now, the New York Knicks 38 and 20. We still have a 4.5 game lead over the Indiana Pacemakers. So some tough games coming up as we look at the schedule right now. The New York Knicks, will they hold on to that lead? I think we will, but we're definitely going to have to put our heads down and focus. Right, with these games coming up, Memphis, Miami, the Golden State Warriors back at home, and then a 5-game West Coast trip in LA, Sacramento, Portland, and Golden State as well. So this is probably the toughest part of the rest of the schedule for the rest of the season, in my opinion. Right, if we can get a good win against Memphis or Miami on the road, split those, I wouldn't be mad. Beat Golden State at home. That's a big game. The West Coast trip, if we can get out of that with 3-2, you sign up for that. Let's see, man. I think we can beat Sacramento. We can definitely beat Portland. and hopefully we can win one of the LA games or the Golden State game. But if I offer you 3-2 on that West Coast trip, you probably take it. And then the rest of March is a combination of my East and West. We've got the Spurs on the road. That's going to be a nice win with no Wemby. We've got Charlotte, Washington, Dallas, back at MSG. So yeah, the first part of March, I think, is the toughest part. GK says Detroit is big and physical and is going to be a tough series for anyone. Yeah, right now we are on track to face Detroit if the schedule, if the standings remain the same. And I do think we're going to play them at least another time. So that'll be a good opportunity to see how we match up with Mitch or Hukporti next to Kat. But yeah, the biggest story of the week, in my opinion, has been, basically a philosophical shift, a confirmation, whatever it is, that we are planning to move forward now with a proper center next to Kat, a defensive-minded center next to Kat. And I think that's only pleasing. It's positive. Whatever happens for the rest of the season, we're going to, get through it with whoever we have. But if it doesn't get us to where we need to get to, then we have the off season to then make some additions. But make the most of what you have with Karl Anthony Towns playing the power forward. And I think you push Josh Hart to the bench. I think floor spacing probably gets a little better because Mitch is a lob threat. Josh Hart hasn't really been, knocking down shots or spacing the floor out. So I think with Bridges, Bridges, Brunson, OG, Karl Anthony Towns, that's more than enough floor spacing next to a lob threat in Mitchie. So that's only positive, fam. Now, for those that missed it, basically Brian Windhorst said today on ESPN that Kevin Durant is expected to be traded. And it's becoming more and more, expected around the NBA that KD is going to get traded in the offseason, man. Where do you think he's going to go? Right. Leaving the Knicks out of it for a second. Where do you think KD should go, and who could trade for him? I think Houston have a lot of trade chips. Oklahoma. What do you think about that? Maybe he goes back to OKC. Yeah, my boy's coming back. Michael Drake, Mitch Robb. Chris says, why have all our games versus Cleveland been second night of a back-to-back? It just is what it is, tough scheduling. That's where depth plays into it, smart coaching decisions, rotating your players, all of those things. But yeah, we just have to be ready for the playoffs, Chris. We have to keep our guys fresh. D. Grant says, don't fool yourself. Boston is toying with the Knicks. They are way too balanced for the Knicks. I'm definitely not expecting us to beat the Boston Celtics. I'm just saying that Boston are playing a lot harder against us. But I'm encouraged by what I saw in that third quarter. So we do have one more game against Boston, but two more against Cleveland. So I'm really looking at that as well. The Boston thing might not be as big of a factor as people think because we might end up facing Cleveland in the second round. We just don't know what's going to happen. But here's what I put out there, guys. Some of the advantages Boston and Cleveland create is from things within the game within the game, right? And what I mean by that is if you pretend that you're playing a video game, against a superior player, it's usually not always because of a skill gap. It's because they have, knowledge of X's and O's. They have, knowledge of a glitch that they can take advantage of, right? When it comes to Boston, they do set illegal screens. You got Luke Cornett here. Whether you're, I do feel like we're being a little harsh at times on guys like OG and Bridges on these screens because, yeah, you want them to fight, you need them to get over these screens, but sometimes it doesn't matter who you are. You're not going to get over a legal screen, right? Look at Luke Cornett. According to the NBA rule book, your legs are not allowed to be separated more than a shoulder width. And so that is an advantage that Boston take advantage of. This is a possession, believe it or not, where Jason Tatum ends up with a dunk, right? He gets so much separation from this illegal pick that OG just dies on the pick. Bridges will die on that pick, and Tatum ends up carrying the basketball as well. That wasn't called. That was a carry. I've seen the video, and then he gets downhill and he dunks it. On the other one, Jarrett Allen as well stretches his legs out like a gymnast, and the guy, of course, the Knicks defender can't get around that pick as well. The Knicks' answer to that for our side offensively is Ariel Hukporti, Mitchell Robinson setting those type of picks to free up Brunson, because that's what can get Brunson going. Yeah, these other teams are a master at taking advantage. These kind of advantages, the game within the game. And like I said, it doesn't matter if you're an elite defender or you're Hulk on steroids from the Marvel universe. You're not going to get around some of these screens. So what we saw tonight, sometimes with Ariel Hukporti, is he will ice the screen. So if you're Karl Anthony Towns on this possession, you need him to be all the way up. Right. See, Cat, he's in no man's land, man. Cat needs to be all the way up on Luke Cornett, basically on Luke Cornett's behind, and icing that pick. But the drop coverage of Tom Thibodeau combined with Karl Anthony Towns' slow-footedness and slow awareness defensively is the killer. That was the killer for the New York Knicks, right? We see, funny thing is the rookie and Mitchell Robinson, they're going to be, the two best attack points at the high pick and roll. Mitchell Robinson hopefully can come up, ice that, and Ariel Hukporti been doing a solid job tonight with icing that pick. But right there, man, it's either going to be a Tatum pull-up open three, because, OG ain't getting around that illegal pick, man. So, yeah, the Knicks will be looking a lot of this film, but the sad thing is they haven't made improvements from 3 games against Boston. So, we made some lineup adjustments tonight. Let's hope, man. I do think Mitch is a large part of the solution. He's not going to be the only solution. Everyone else has to play better. And obviously a lineup change with Cat going back to the 4. It's our best lottery ticket. Yeah, Buzzer, Phoenix is going to blow it up 100%. They're sick of being mediocre out there. Bradley Beal struggling as well. Well, he's been playing decent recently, but turnstile defensively. GK says, yeah, I think KD moving on as well. It's going to be wild, man. I do think Giannis ends up moving on as well. If you're Leon Rose, I want to hear from you. What do you do right now? Forget about the Bridges trade. We did that already. We can't undo that. But what is your next move if you're Leon Rose? I want you to tell me right now. Right now, I don't panic if I'm Leon Rose. For me, I would stay pat, right? See how the playoffs play out. Obviously, you see what Mitch looks like, a proper rim defensive player next to Cat. But you watch that situation in Milwaukee, because the next biggest star is most likely, outside of Kevin Durant, it's going to be, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Right, it's going to be Giannis, right? Maybe Devin Booker even, but it's going to be Giannis, I think. And you need to position yourself that if Giannis Antetokounmpo asks out, it's front office malpractice if you're not positioning yourself to be ready to make a prime time offer, that, the writing is basically on the wall right now. You need to plan for that, right? There ain't no one else really gonna, fall out of the sky, in terms of a superstar, I think. So, you have to be patient still, I guess. We've got a lot of guys under contract. But, as, the years go by, we're going to have more pick swaps and picks we can throw in as well with some big contracts. Yeah, Buzzer says it. To counter those screens, have the screeners, defenders hedge. Yeah, we saw Hukporti do a good job tonight, and then he recovers as well. Yeah, Cat just playing too far drop. Whether that's on Tibbs or whether Tibbs is saying don't get up, or Cat is just not good enough at getting up. They're both to blame. Yep, appreciate it. That's what I take out of that, man. A lot of people look at, look, Boston are a better team, but the reason why I'm bringing this screen thing up, Buzzer and Nick's family, is because we all have a right to be frustrated and angry and surprised that we lose by 40 points to these teams. But we should not be losing by 40 points, 30 points, 20 points. For as good as these teams are, we are not 40 points worse than Boston and Cleveland. They're simply outgaming us. They're, personnel versus personnel. There's a talent gap, no doubt about it. But against coaching, that's the biggest issue. And these teams taking advantage, of the glitch within the game, the game within the game. And we're out here playing 2D. We're out here playing checkers, and these guys are playing 4D chess right now. So GK says, if Leon's going to make a move, need a new coach. That could be Leon Rose's biggest decision of his entire regime, his legacy. Does he have enough to move on from Tibbs if things don't work out in this postseason? I always said you don't have to really you don't have to kick Tibbs to the curb. You can, Dolan, you could come together with a job, and keep him in the organization. But yeah, a coach with more X's and O's, more up their sleeve, I think is the game plan. D Grant says, wait till the end of the year. If Giannis wants out, I'm trading Towns, OG, Mitch for him. Yeah, there'll be also all kinds of Godfather offers, which I think you can't be too impatient and go for the next upgrade. That's not really gonna be as much of an upgrade as a Giannis. I think, we obviously have to make improvements on the margins as well, but I do think there's the writing on the wall, around the league, and you have to be ready, right? If you are a guy like Leon Rose and you've made all these moves, wouldn't it be a damn shame if a guy like Giannis gets traded and you're not in a position, to get him? That would be a complete failure. A lot of people said the same about Luka. Let's wrap up here, right? The New York Knicks will be at it on Friday against Memphis. Is that going to be Mitchell Robinson's return? I think there's a big chance, right? Big chance that we're gearing up. I don't know why tonight he wasn't a go. I was a little surprised. Maybe it was the fact that Cat was a little banged up. That could have been the key point, because you don't really want to give Mitch his debut, if Karl Anthony Towns is also out, So I think next game against Memphis, we'll see the Block Nest monster return, right? For the first time since last season's playoffs, Mitchell Robinson. I'm going to predict he's going to be on maybe a 12 to 15 minute restriction. Just the first maybe 2-3 games. And then hopefully we can ramp that up. But man, it's going to be there's going to be a lot of tension around the league, especially. We know, a lot of fans outside of the Knicks circle have been, putting certain labels on the team, but a lot of fans have been putting a lot of hope in Mitchell Robinson as well. So There's going to be a lot of attention on that, but I can't wait. I do think we're going to get more sound defensively, obviously, is the key. Cat back to his original position. And let's see how that plays out. Josh Hart to the bench. Buzzer says, do you agree with the sentiment that our teams need more time, that teams need time to gel, or should we be playing better right now? I think there's been enough time. I think there is a credence to a team needing enough time to gel, but I think 50 games is more than enough, fam. I think 50, it's down to schemes and X's and O's by that point, and will. And do you want to sacrifice? Do you want to adjust? You know, it takes a lot for everyone, right? The other night we had a practice, but the other day we saw some plays tonight. Hukporti looked more confident, so he should have been playing earlier in the season. But yeah, let's get it Friday. That'll be a big game, like GK says. We've beaten Memphis before as well. We've swept Denver. We've beaten the Houston Rockets this season. So we've had success out west, right? Everyone wants to crucify the Knicks because of Oklahoma, Boston, and Cleveland. But we have had success against some very good teams out west. But obviously, in terms of what Buzzer said and gelling, if Cat isn't going to be the future five of this club, then that is a huge storyline, because all those beatdowns don't really mean as much, in my opinion, because Cat's not going to be playing the five for the future. So can the Knicks match up better? Can Boston exploit the Knicks like they did if we did have a better defensive option? That's going to be the biggest talking point moving forward, you know? Obviously Hukporti, you know, he's too young and too inexperienced to put all that on him against a Cleveland and a Boston. But against a seasoned vet, with a seasoned vet like Mitchell Robinson, with Karl Anthony Towns next to him, I think we definitely play Boston a lot closer, you know? That'll clog the paint a bit more, that, you know, force them to jump shoot. You know, if Tatum can get downhill, then there's going to be someone there waiting for him. And, you know, is he going to trust Luke Cornett in the short roll? You know, how many possessions are they going to look to Luke Cornett if Mitchell Robinson is out there? That's the biggest thing, guys. But yeah, I'm still excited for the rest of this season, see what shakes out. A lot of questions still, but a lot of answers are going to come. And don't look now, but next game is going to be huge in Memphis. And this train keeps rolling, guys. The streets keep buzzing. Big up to the chat tonight. And I hope everyone has a blessed night. And yeah, let's get it on Friday, man. On the road in Memphis. Peace.